Welcome to Power Within, where we fuel your inner fire and help you unlock your true potential. I was just reading an article in Entrepreneur Magazine, and it's an interview with Brian Chesky, who is the founder of Airbnb. And in this article, he talks about how when he first started Airbnb, they were rejected by a bunch of different investors because they didn't really know what to do with Airbnb. They thought it was too risky, and so they actually ended up raising money from just regular people who invested their own money into Airbnb when no venture capitalists or angel investors would. And they weren't able to pay these people back for many years, but eventually Airbnb blew up and those early investors made a ton of money. But I think there is a really important lesson here that we can all learn about entrepreneurship and about life, so let me share that with you right now. Now, this is something that I talk to young people about all the time because I think it is one of the biggest problems that I see that keeps people from getting where they want to go in life. People always ask me, what are the most important things that I need to know about money? And I always say it's these 3 principles right here. But if you don't understand this principle, then it doesn't matter because everything else won't work. This is something that I've talked about before. The idea that opportunity doesn't wait for us, we have to create it. You may have heard another version of this quote before where Mark Zuckerberg says opportunities don't happen. Opportunities are made, they're not waiting for anybody. And so the question is, how do we actually create these opportunities? Well, I think the story of Airbnb is a great example of this. When I first started my channel 5 years ago, it wasn't because there was like this huge opportunity out there for financial education channels. It's just because I wanted to share what I was learning about money because I was on this journey myself. There wasn't a bunch of other people doing exactly what I was doing. In fact, there still isn't. I am still the only person in the world that does exactly what I do. And that's why I'm able to be successful at it. Not because it's super easy, but because I don't have competition. You see, there's 2 different kinds of people in this world. There's people who wait around for an opportunity to come to them, and then there's people who go out and create the opportunity, and then they take advantage of it. When I first started my channel, I was literally watching every single day as other channels blew up. And I said to myself, how can I take advantage of this? How can I make this work for me? And that's why I started making videos about the FIRE movement, because I saw that other people were talking about it, and I said to myself, can I add something unique to this conversation? Can I give my own perspective on this? And that's what I did. And it wasn't until several years later that I realized, oh wow, the videos about FIRE are actually the most popular videos I've ever done. Now, some people might look at that and say, well, Graham, that's just luck. That just happened to work out for you, but I don't think it was luck. I think it was because I was willing to try new things and I was willing to fail at them. Now, after I had been making videos for about a year, I remember sitting down and looking at all the data and being like, am I ever gonna make any money at this? Is this ever gonna work? And I created a spreadsheet and I calculated how much money I would need to make to quit my job. And it turns out I was very close to that number, so I decided to just go for it. I decided to quit my job, double down, and see if I could make this work. And a lot of people might look at that and say, that's crazy. Why would you quit your job? You're so young. You should be investing in your career. And yes, that's true in most cases. You should invest in your career. But in this case, I knew that I was probably going to be more successful starting a business and building something from scratch than I would be continuing to work at my job. And the reason I knew that is because I wasn't satisfied with the work that I was doing at my job. I felt like I had so much more to offer and I wasn't being challenged. And so I knew that if I wanted to really build wealth, then I needed to start a business. Now, some people might look at my story and say, well, Graham, that sounds great, but you're just an exceptional person. You're just smarter than everybody else. You're better at this than everybody else. You speak multiple languages, and yes, that's true. Those things helped me get to where I am today. But it wasn't enough on its own. I couldn't have done this alone. I had to have the willingness to step outside of my comfort zone. I had to have the willingness to be okay with being uncomfortable, because growth only happens outside of our comfort zone. There is a phrase that I love that says if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. And so if you want something new, if you want something different, then you have to do something different. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. So many people have this fear of failure. They don't want to risk failure because they think that failure means that they're a failure, but failure is part of the process. If you're trying to hit a home run, you're probably going to strike out a lot along the way. But as long as you're okay with that, as long as you're willing to put in the work, then eventually you will hit that home run. Most people never even get to first base because they don't even try. They don't even put themselves out there. They don't even take the chance because they're so worried about what might happen if they fail. But if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to take the chance, then you have a much better opportunity to hit that home run. Whenever I talk to young people about this, they often say, "But Graham, I have responsibilities. I have kids to feed. I have a mortgage to pay. I can't just take a big risk and start a business." And to that I say, yes, you do have responsibilities. Yes, you do have people that depend on you. And because of that, you can't afford not to take risks. Because if you don't take risks and you don't do something different, then you're probably going to end up in the same place you've always been, which probably isn't where you want to be. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that everybody should just quit their job and start a business. Of course not. But it does mean that we shouldn't be afraid to take risks. We shouldn't be afraid to step outside of our comfort zone and try new things. Because if we're not willing to do that, if we're not willing to put ourselves out there, then we're never going to get what we want out of life. We're never going to be able to say that we took a chance and did something bold. And yes, it's scary. I'm not saying it's not scary. But if you want to live a life that you're excited about, if you want to create opportunities for yourself, then you have to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone. If you want to create opportunities, you have to be willing to take risks. You have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to fall flat on your face and start over again. Because that's where the opportunities are. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you subscribe to my channel and check out this playlist right here. These are some of my favorite videos to help you become financially free. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.